Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Jank Drawer. I am Sam. This is the Jank Drawer, where every story finds its home, and I am so glad to have you all with me again today as we make our triumphant return back to Serie B to guide Provercelli back to greatness, is at least the goal. The last time we were here with Provercelli, it was, at this point, I think almost 2 full weeks ago. And we had just finished our January transfer window in 2028, where, unfortunately, we had to sell everybody. It was a fire sale. We were just getting rid of players left, right, and center, because we needed to meet our financial goals for the year, and we have been struggling financially as a club. Even after our massive fire sale where we made a profit of almost $1 million last month in selling everyone, we ended up with a bank balance of negative $9 million, almost $10 million. We're only made $90,000 off of a negative $10 million balance. But the most important thing is we were able to reduce our wage budget all the way down from $6.5 million a year to $4.5 million a year, which is under budget. We are under budget by about 15%. We were under budget before then as well. And then the club drastically reduced our budget, and we were able to use the profits from our player sale and a couple of other financial tricks to just kind of renegotiate that into the point where we are severely under budget now, to the point that if things continue to go as badly as they have been, our club may cut our budgets once again, and if they do, we should be able to also survive that budget cut, is at least the goal. It's the hope that we're going for here. And so we're going to be going to that. I apologize for being out of uniform today. Generally, when we play the Football Manager saves, I wear our Football Manager uniform, the lovely green velour tracksuit. And as much as I love the green velour tracksuit, I have a very important thing to do immediately after stream today. So we are going to be live from 2 until 6. I am going to have a hard out at 6 because I have had on the books since, I think, probably, I want to say like May of last year, tickets to go and see Hadestown tonight at the local theater. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of the musicals that has been very, very high on my list of musicals to go see. It is based off of one of my favorite Greek myths and my favorite just all-time stories of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. Sorry, said that in Portuguese. Orpheus and Eurydice. They are, I think, 2 of my favorite tragic lovers ever. I loved the story when I heard it in the Greek. In my studies of Brazilian film and literature and all that stuff, it is also inescapable there, in that one of the seminal works of Brazilian cinema, just one of the most popular films ever made and one of the best films ever made out of Brazilian cinema, is a movie called Orfeu Negro, which is translated to Black Orpheus, which is a contemporary to the times. This was a movie that was made, I think, in the 60s in Brazil. A contemporary to the times retelling of the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, but based in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, and told as a story deeply tied into the cultural customs of the former slave communities of Rio de Janeiro, especially as it ties into the feiticeira and the macumba like practices of that time. It's a really, really good movie. All of this to say, it's one of my favorite stories, and I have never had the opportunity to see the actual Hadestown musical. And so when it was coming on Broadway across America to a city near me, and it was going to be performing, one of the first things that I did was that I wanted to get a ticket, and my mom had also heard good things, and so we're going to go and have a fun evening tonight where she and I are going to go see the musical. But it does mean that to make that, I have to leave immediately after stream ends. and I don't want to be able to make sure that I get there on time and we have proper time to do all the things that we need to do. I don't want to have to also quick change out of the uniform into my going out clothes to do, a whole fit change and then drive into town to go do that. I really don't want to be late for that and give ourselves the maximum opportunity to be able to enjoy that. So, we're rocking what we've got right now. But it's been a minute since we've been able to talk football, chat, and I wanted to get into it because, just because we haven't talked about it doesn't mean there hasn't been things to be talking about in any way, shape, or form. In fact, there's probably been more to talk about in the world of football in the past 2 or so weeks that we haven't been talking about it than there have been for a real long time. And so I wanted to talk about it. And so we're going to go all the way back, just rewind the time machine to the last time that we would have talked about it, which I think would have been, we didn't do Tuesday, so we might have talked about it a little bit Wednesday of last week. But Wednesday of last week, for those of you that have been following along and remember what we've been doing here, was very important for one reason and one reason only, and that was that last Wednesday was the second round of the final stage of the first round of Champions League round of 16. So all the teams had already played their first legs. This was the last match day of the second legs, and this has been and continues to be after this one of the greatest Champions Leagues of all time. It was a really thrilling display. To start it off with the Tuesday games that we didn't watch, the first one that we need to talk about is an absolutely incredible overtime thriller between none other than Sporting Clube de Portugal and Bodo Glimt. Now, Bodo Glimt is the perennial underdog story. It's everyone's Cinderella story going into these matches. They're a team who, this is their debut season in the Champions League. They're from a teeny little town in northern Norway up in the Arctic Circle. And they have astounded everyone by getting to this point. They snuck into the knockout rounds of the Champions League after back-to-back wins over Atletico Madrid and Man City, both teams that were in the competition up until this point. So other round of 16 finalists, it's huge competition to be beating. They got to the round of 16 by eliminating Inter Milan from Italy, almost perennial challenger for the title, and a perennial challenger to the later stages of the Champions League. So they have eliminated huge teams to get out of here. And to refresh your memory, at their home leg of this fixture, which was the first leg for them, Bodo Glimt put up a 3-0 battering of Sporting Clube de Portugal. It just was not close. And so this was one of many blowout games in the first leg of these that was going to be hard to overcome. And I remember talking about it after that game on the last time that we talked about football of hey, this is one of those games that you don't come back from. And as much as Sporting should win this game, and they should feel advantaged to be able to do so, 3-0 is hard to come over. It doesn't matter if you're back at home in Lisbon. 3-0 is hard. And much to their credit, they pulled it off. And it was a very team affair. There was 5 goals in this game. They ended up coming back and in extra time, which means a full 120 minutes were played. They ended up winning this 5-0. But it was off of 5 different goal scorers. The goals were kicked off by Portuguese center back Gonçalo Inácio. He was able to just put in a thundering header in the 34th minute to open the scoring. Then in the 61st minute, Portuguese left winger Pote, who I think might have been in contention for man of the match on this one. If he wasn't, he certainly did very... man of the match was Araujo, the Uruguayan left back, with a 9.2. Ridiculous, because Araujo had a 9.2, Pote had an 8.0, Francisco Trincao got 2 assists in this game and had a 9.0. Luis Suarez, not that one, got a goal and an assist in this game on an 8.9. Like, literally everyone on this team, other than Eduardo Quaresma, who is the starting center back in this game for Sporting Clube de Portugal, their 24-year-old homegrown talent, was like at minimum a 7.0. Like, this is an incredibly good turnout for the Portuguese side. The only bad performances being the defenders that came on for these injured players. So like Zeno de Bast, who came on for Quaresma, Usman Diomande, who came on in the 110th minute for Araujo when Araujo got injured, Sulemane Faye, who came on in the 110th minute for Francisco Trincao and just like didn't do anything. No one did get bit. This is unfortunately Colombian Luis Suarez, not Uruguayan Luis Suarez. This Luis Suarez doesn't bite people. But, you know, got ahead in the first half. Second half, Pote pulls them ahead in the 61st. Now they're only down 3-2. Doesn't bite yet. I mean, honestly, he's made it pretty far. Colombian Luis Suarez is 28. So, like, he's past when Uruguayan Luis Suarez was in his prime biting years. So, maybe he can get a little bit older and then bite people more frequently. But until now, the world seems safe from this Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez, speaking of him, scores the third goal. This is a penalty that is awarded for Sporting Clube de Portugal in the 78th minute. And then, all in all, Sporting Clube de Portugal just kind of controlled this entire game. They had 66% of the possession. They had 4 expected goals that they converted into 5. They had 38 total shots on goal against Bodo Glimt and 9 big chances. And in retaliation, Bodo Glimt had an XG of 0.54 on 9 total shots in the game. Like, this was a dominating performance at home in front of the home crowd for Sporting Clube de Portugal. But in regulation, they were only able to get those 3 goals, but that was enough to push it to extra time. And then in the 30 minutes of extra time is when Sporting Clube de Portugal finally put this all away. In the 92nd minute, literally right after the kickoff for the first half of extra time, Uruguayan left back Maxi Araujo scores the first goal off an assist from Francisco Trincao. And then in the second half of extra time, right at the very death of this game, Rafael Nel, the 20-year-old Portuguese striker who had come on to replace the very tired Luis Suarez in the 116th minute, scores the final goal of this game in the 121st minute. And this is one of those where it's like, even if you are not the favorite team, or even if you are not the team that's expected to get that far, because that is not what Bodo Glimt were going into this, it was still a massive bottle job by Bodo Glimt to let Sporting Clube de Portugal at home overturn a 3-0 deficit and just absolutely blow them out of the park. And so this sees a now triumphant Sporting Clube de Portugal get drawn against the winner of the next game, which is Arsenal, because Arsenal played home at the Emirates to Bayer Leverkusen. This was a team that, when they played at Bayer Leverkusen's stadium the week earlier, they were only able to salvage a late 1-1 draw with a Kai Havertz penalty in the 89th minute to be the only goal for Arsenal in that game to bring them ahead. At home, though, it was a little bit of a different story. Arsenal played a very passive role in this game, which is weird because they scored their goals in the 36th minute and the 63rd minute. Very tough to score on Germans in Germany, but it's also like the whole strategy, it seemed like, for Arsenal is very similar to another game we're going to talk about for Arsenal in the future here, which was their cup final that they played last weekend against Man City for the Carabao Cup. This was one of those where it's like Arsenal scored 2 goals, but after they scored the first one, kind of just like stopped playing. They did eventually score the second goal, but it was like very much against the run of play. You look at the numbers in this match, it was pretty close to 50-50, but it was definitely favored to Bayer Leverkusen as far as like possession was concerned. Where Arsenal really came ahead on this was their expected goals, and then the fact that even when they didn't have a lot of the ball, they were taking a billion shots. Arsenal did manage to take 21 total shots in this game, and 2 of them got converted into goals. One, which has been heralded as an absolute stunner, and I'm inclined to agree from what I remember of the highlights that I watched a couple weeks ago, from Eberechi Eze, and then Declan Rice in the 63rd minute, just to put this game to bed. Very comfortable 2-0 win in what turned out to be probably one of the most boring matches of this round of 16. Like, Arsenal, Bayer Leverkusen, hard to score on Germans in Germany, even harder to score at Arsenal at home. And it just turned into just kind of like a really low-key affair, as opposed to much of the other games that went on. Staying in England, we have the next 2 games in this match week. First, Chelsea versus PSG. Chelsea went into this with a 3-goal deficit, having lost at the Parc des Princes in Paris 5-2 going into this game. So really high hill to try and climb over that they have to just try to overcome to get any progress out of this. And then it almost immediately goes off the rails. For those of you that remember when we talked about the first leg of this game, it was a really close game for the first, I want to say, 67 minutes of the game. Where it was just incredibly close. Chelsea and PSG, it was a lot of back and forth. PSG would score a goal, Chelsea would equalize in like 2 minutes. PSG would score another goal, Chelsea equalized like 2 minutes later. And then what heralded the beginning of the end for Chelsea in the first leg of this game was the 67th minute substitution, where PSG brought on the one man who's probably got more talent in him than the entirety of the Chelsea team put together, Georgian international Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia. And then Kvaratskhelia proceeded to score 2 goals and get an assist in the last 30 minutes of the game to make it so that they won 5-2. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was just absolutely insane. And the second he came on, you're like, oh, this guy's in a different caliber than everyone else on the pitch right now. Like, it had been real close back and forth, and then he came on and he just made magic happen. And so, I at least took that as a, like, hey, Chelsea's going to try and put up a fight at Stamford Bridge, but also, pound for pound, PSG's just got him. Like, this is just like you look at every single one of those positions on a score sheet, and PSG, they've got shooters. And seems like the wheels fell off almost immediately. Kvaratskhelia scores the first goal of this game in the 6th minute, followed by French young star Bradley Barcola scoring in the 16th, and then youth prospect at PSG, Sonny Mayulu, the 19-year-old center mid, caps off the scoring to have Paris Saint-Germain see themselves win at the Stamford Bridge 3-0, 8-2 on aggregate, in just a completely just soul-crushing loss to Chelsea that I think, like, defeat for Chelsea, that I think is the main cause of a lot of the problems that Chelsea has been having in all of their other competitions going forward after this. Because Chelsea have not looked good in any game since their first loss to Paris Saint-Germain, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. Which has been really fun to watch as a person that really doesn't like Chelsea, mainly because they poached our really good head coach that we got when we got promoted from the championship the first time at Leicester City, and then this year they fired him. So I'm like, if you're going to have the indecency to poach our head coach, at least have the decency to not fire him within a year and a half. We could have done so much if we had kept Enzo Maresca, but I digress. So that was, an absolute stunner at the Stamford Bridge, to bring that up. And then the real, other than the sporting game, which was fantastic, the other real bit of big news from this particular match week was what went down at Man City. Man City had the ignominy and the horrible luck of, under Pep Guardiola, being drawn against Real Madrid in the round of 16, which Real Madrid are in a weaker state than they've ever been this season, specifically just because there's been a whole slew of injuries across the front line of Real Madrid. They fired their coach halfway through the season. They're under an interim manager now of Arboleta. There's not a lot... Alvaro Arbeloa. There's a lot of things in this game that can go very, very wrong for them. And Manchester City, as much as they've been dominant forces in England under Pep Guardiola, have, in his 9-year tenure, only won a single Champions League. And they are pretty desperate to change that around. And the major reason that they've only won their one Champions League has been that, historically, every time that they get paired against Real Madrid, they lose. And that has just kind of been the story of Pep Guardiola's, whole career. Is other than his time where he started his career as a manager at Barcelona with Lionel Messi, he hasn't really been able to replicate that level of success anywhere else. He wasn't able to replicate it at Bayern. Bayern never won a Champions League under him. That was kind of his whole thing, is he would go into clubs and he'd win domestic trophy after domestic trophy after domestic trophy. But until he won the Champions League with City a couple of seasons ago, when they won the quadruple, the big kind of sword of Damocles over the head of Pep Guardiola was he can't do it again at the highest level without Messi. And he's now moved past that, but it was very much he'd like to be able to prove that I can do it more than once at a club. And it didn't seem to go that way for him this time. After an embarrassing loss at Real Madrid for the first leg of this, where they ended up losing 3-0 to an absolutely fantastic Federico Valverde hat trick. That, if you haven't watched it by now, I know it's almost a month out of date, and I know I talked about this when it happened, but I cannot encourage you strongly enough to go watch that hat trick. It was a whole bunch of just individual brilliance from Federico Valverde to put Manchester City to the sword in Madrid. But we've saw Sporting Clube de Portugal overturn a 3-0 loss. They were able to get all the way through it, and they are infinitely worse than Manchester City. To be fair, Bodo Glimt is also infinitely worse than Real Madrid. Different levels of caliber of competition there, but still, overturning a 3-0 deficit is not impossible. Until you watch Manchester City try to do it, and then you might think it's the hardest thing to do in the world. Because this starts off abysmally for Manchester City supporters, which I am not one, so I found once again this game to be hilarious. But off to just an absolute stunning start, in the 20th minute of this game, we see probably the most important player on Manchester City's side. There's a couple of people that this could be up in for contention for. Some would think reigning Golden Ball winner, Ballon d'Or winner, Rodri. Some would say Erling Haaland. I think that one of the most influential places that they have, though, is that kind of heir apparent role to Kevin De Bruyne, the guy that pulls all the strings for them in the midfield. Not Cherki, Bernardo Silva. Cherki, I think, is the next one who's going to be the next Bernardo Silva. But Bernardo is definitely the guy that pulls everything together for them. And then he's 30, so he's going to move on soon. And then it is going to be Ryan Cherki. But Bernardo Silva in the 20th minute finds himself getting a straight red card for denying a goal-scoring opportunity because he just, Vinicius Jr. tries to shoot the ball at the goal, and Bernardo Silva just sticks his hand out and blocks it, and then gets immediately sent off, and Real Madrid are given a penalty. And so that's how they start the game. 20 minutes in, it was just immediately all going downhill. Bernardo Silva gets sent off, straight red card. A natural hand position. I mean, I would be inclined to believe it. Reading through the highlights and stuff here, because it's been a couple weeks since I watched these, I would be more inclined to believe it. The highlight that I'm reading through here, just kidding. It says that it came off his elbow. Either way, I was just like, either way, even if it's a natural position, what he did is not allowed no matter what. So he just gets sent off. And of course, Vinicius Jr., who would have scored the goal if Bernardo Silva hadn't attempted to play goalkeeper, which is not his position, now gets a penalty kick and just buries it. And now they're down 4-0. Like, 4-0. At that point, the mountain has just gotten even higher that they have to climb over. Luckily for them, there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Their number 9, Erling Haaland, in the 41st minute, finally scores a goal. They're down to 10 men, but they do at least get one back, and it's like, hey, maybe we can mount a comeback. And then the rest of the game plays out kind of a real rich back and forth until an eventual go-ahead goal for Real Madrid in the 93rd minute. Vinicius Jr. gets his second goal of the day, scoring a brace. 2-1 on the night, 5-1 on aggregate. Real Madrid eliminate Manchester City. City is out of the competition. And Pep Guardiola, in what is liking to be his last season, potentially, at the club, because there's been a lot of rumors that he's not interested in signing a new contract and he wants to go find a new challenge at a new club. And even though he has one more year left on his contract, City might just try to take advantage of the window where there's going to be a lot of manager turnover already on the books to move on from Pep. If we could get Pep at Leicester City, that would be fantastic. I would love that. Since I don't really have any issue with Pep Guardiola, necessarily, do I find his teams incredibly boring to watch sometimes? Yes. Do I blame him single-handedly for making Jack Grealish go from one of the most exciting players to watch in the Premier League to one of the most boring players to watch in the Premier League? Also, yes. But he gets results, and I would love that for Leicester City. But so that was just the Tuesday. The Wednesday games went even harder, because the Wednesday games were similarly a lot of crazy results, as to be expected from just this entire thing. I don't like the goalkeeper and the center backs kicking the ball around for 80 minutes and then eventually Erling Haaland gets a goal. He's also, like, his tactics is also very much built around, like, everyone has zones on the pitch that you have to operate within, and you should never get out of your zone, but then it's entirely built around having people in each zone that are so individually brilliant that because they are so good, they can be in their zone and just beat anyone. And so it's like, you need a whole bunch of individual brilliance, but also a really rigid tactical system. There's a lot to go on there. But the other matches of this Champions League window were also just as exciting. We saw Barcelona versus Newcastle, which had been a very, at the Newcastle side of this match, tight contest, with Newcastle leading for almost the entirety of the contest, and then a very deserved, but fortunate for Barcelona fans, penalty in the literal last minute of the game that was put through by Lamine Yamal, saw them exit Tyneside with a 1-1 draw. Only for them to come back home to Camp Nou in Barcelona and just absolutely slaughter Newcastle. Newcastle went down to a Rafinha goal in the 6th minute of this game, and then it never looked back. Barcelona ends up finishing this game, winning 7-2. Newcastle United getting their 2 goals from former Manchester United youngster and hopeful Anthony Elanga, Swedish international, playing on the right wing. He scores in the 15th and 28th minute. They cannot play south of Hadrian's Wall. It all falls apart. They go back to any part of the former Roman Empire, and the entire system falls apart, because they scored 7 goals. Rafinha in the 6th minute, Bernal in the 18th, Lamine Yamal in the 45th plus 7th minute of the stoppage time in the first half on a penalty. Fran Lopez in the 51st minute. Lewandowski in the 56th and 61st minute. And then Rafinha, none other than Brazilian superstar Rafinha, scoring his 7th of the game in the 72nd minute. I haven't watched the highlights of this game, honestly, because I took one look at the scoreline. I'm like, this is probably going to be really fun to watch, but it's also just like, there's a lot of goals, and goals make for entertaining soccer. Like, that's not a negotiable point. Like, that's just a thing that is true, is that goals make for entertaining soccer. But also at a certain point, when it's a slaughter this one-sided, honestly, like, what is there to watch? It's just like, oh, my highlights package is watch all 9 of these goals and watch one team that is clearly so much better than the other team. And that's kind of the vibe that I got here from Newcastle. It's just like Rafinha and Yamal and all that stuff. Like, Yamal scored one of these goals, but I think in this game, he only got 1 assist. But a brace from Rafinha. He also got 2 assists in this game. Lewandowski got a brace. Fermin Lopez with his goal. Lamine Yamal with his goal and an assist. Marc Bernal got the 18-year-old defensive midfielder got his goal in this. 24-year-old center back Gerard Martin got an assist in this game. Just absolutely abysmal performance from Newcastle United. And that was how we started Wednesday's games. Bayern Munich, who saw themselves go out to an early lead in their first round of this, beating Atalanta, the sole Italian representation in the round of 16, 6-1 in Atalanta. Now saw themselves come back to Bayern, back to Munich, and decide, at the Allianz Arena, we don't need to go that hard. We can rest on our laurels a little bit. And so they only scored 4 goals this time, beating Atalanta 10-2 on aggregate in the biggest disparity of points in the round of 16. And goals from none other than Harry Kane, and then Leonard Carl and Luis Diaz, only offset by a very much last-minute consolation goal for Lazar Smarzic, the 24-year-old Serbian attacking midfielder, as the only goal for Atalanta in this game. Bayern were doing to Atalanta what Bayern have been doing to teams in the Bundesliga all year. This was just like, instead of beating up like Heidenheim, who just got promoted from the Zweite Bundesliga on the weekend, this is them being like, hey, the reigning champions, well, not reigning champions, since Atalanta I think has been like consistently 3rd or 4th in Serie A, but they're like, like one of the best 5 teams in Serie A for the past decade? What if we just went and beat them even worse than we beat, like, Mainz? Not to say Mainz is bad, but Mainz is consistently like a mid-table Bundesliga team, and even they don't lose 6-1 to Bayern Munich. It's just an absolutely incredible routing performance from Bayern Munich. A performance that sees them move on to the next round. Liverpool were able to overturn a first-round loss in Turkey to Galatasaray. As in the return to Anfield, they were able to do what everyone expected Liverpool to do against the Turkish team, and that was score 4 goals and walk away as if nothing had ever happened. Goals in this game from none other than Dominic Szoboszlai, Ugo Ekitike, Ryan Gravenberch, and then none other than one of Liverpool's all-time greats, Mohamed Salah, in the 62nd minute. The news coming out of Liverpool most recently is that Salah will be leaving at the end of this year, and that he'll be finally leaving Liverpool to move on to greener pastures. After threatening a move earlier in the season, I'm not surprised by this news. I was honestly more surprised with the news over the summer that he had re-signed for a 3-year contract to Liverpool, because honestly, as much as Mo Salah has been like the big guy for Liverpool for the entirety of the most recent reign of dominance and has been instrumental in most things that they've done, I think that noted Liverpool enjoyer John Oliver said it best in the Men in Blazers podcast when his greatest fear is what has happened to Mohamed Salah, which is that he's going to be leaving ignominiously as someone that has left a bad taste in the mouth of Liverpool fans, not necessarily because of anything he's done, but because of how he's been treated and the lackluster performances where he should have left in the glory of his great halcyon days of the last couple of years, especially like the perfect time to leave Liverpool for Mohamed Salah was the end of last season. And like, as a storyteller, looking at the narrative of his track record at Liverpool, where he came in, had this resurgence onto the scene after playing earlier in his career in the Premier League for Chelsea to middling results, and then to go away and come back triumphantly and then immediately establish himself as one of the best, if not the best player on Liverpool's team for the better part of the Jurgen Klopp era and then into the beginning of the Arne Slot era. Like, he was instrumental, and none more so than in the 2 years that they won the league. In the 2020 league that was weird and called short because of the COVID-19 pandemic that Liverpool won, where he was not only the leading scorer for Liverpool, but he was the Golden Boot in the league. Or last season, when he was the Golden Boot other than Erling Haaland, and also won Liverpool the league. Like, he would have gone out on top, and they would have built statues to his name. When they eventually remodel Anfield in the future, they would have named it after Mohamed Salah. Like, he would have been the best thing to happen to Liverpool since at least Gerrard, and maybe even bigger than Gerrard. Like, it's just incredible. But now, instead, he re-signed, and he started the season poorly, then got hurt, then got taken out of the team, then went public about his displeasure, threatened to leave, and now he's just kind of soured a decade of being the main man entirely around the fact of just like, understandably, he's like, I signed to still be the guy, and then you signed Florian Wirtz, you signed Ugo Ekitike, and you signed Alexander Isak, 3 offensive-minded players, and you want to play all of them over me, and I'm still supposed to be the guy, not these new guys. And he's gotten a lot more playing time since he went public about it, but it was very much of just like, the ignominy of leaving now is going to be so much worse than if he had just left at the end of last season. If he had just signed on and been like, hey, you know, we've had a good run. I've done everything there is to do here. I've delivered you a trophy that everyone called a sham because it was during the pandemic, and then to prove them wrong, we won it in a manner that no one can deny in 2025. And I think that it's time for me to go off into the sunset and find my next adventure. And if he had said that and done that, obviously there would have been a day of mourning, if not several, but Liverpool fans would have loved him forever because he did what they asked him to do, and he did it better than anyone else. And now he's had a middling season. He's looked less like the Adonis that he was and more like just a mortal man. And he's leaving 2 years early from his contract in the summer because it's just very clear that, like, he's not part of the plan anymore. And he wants to be somewhere where he should be part of the plan. And he's earned it. Thank you, Midnight Campaign. But yeah, no, it's an interesting thing. But Liverpool do see themselves get into the next round. Galatasaray were a really fun team to watch in this competition. They are a very star-studded side, but they just could not get the job done at Anfield. Other results, the only other result of that weekend, of that midweek, was Atletico Madrid versus Tottenham Hotspur. In the ongoing saga that is the funniest thing to ever happen in professional sports, which is the imminent collapse and doom of Tottenham Hotspur, who were formerly one of the Big Six, and now are facing relegation in their own domestic league, as well as getting just absolutely dumpstered by Atletico Madrid. Tottenham Hotspur put on a valiant effort here. They did score 3 goals, and they did, in fact, win this game 3-2. But they could not overcome the 5-2 defeat that they suffered in Madrid against Atletico Madrid, and ended up losing 5-7 on aggregate in regulation. And now we see ourselves heading into the quarterfinals, which are going to be played this week. I think they might even be playing today. Other big news throughout all of this is Nottingham Forest are on a little bit of a bounce. They were able to win progression out of the round of 16 in the Europa League, and now they're winning games in the actual league. Man United have had a little bit of a wobble in their resurgence, tying with Bournemouth on the 20th, and then losing to Villa at the weekend, I think. They won their Villa game, if I remember correctly. Sorry. I'm trying to remember all of these matches. Yeah. No, this weekend, the big things that happened was Everton demolished Chelsea 3-1. Fulham blew out Burnley 3-1. Brighton were able to pluckily hang on and beat Liverpool 2-1. And then Newcastle lost to Sunderland, Villa beat West Ham, and Tottenham lost 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. This sees us in a very interesting position where Nottingham Forest are now out of relegation contention, mostly, and Tottenham and West Ham are now vying for who's going to get the ignominy of being relegated, and it's 2 now huge teams, as Nottingham Forest are pretty much riding their way out of trouble at this point, which is an interesting place for them to be in. This weekend also saw the final of the Carabao Cup in the English competition, which is why the Crystal Palace Man City game was not played, because Man City had a different game on that same day versus Arsenal. And this is the same point that I wanted to talk about of the Bayer Leverkusen game, where in this game, Arsenal just kind of played to not lose, which is a weird way to play a game that you need to win. Especially when they were basically just defending, playing not to lose, and giving up, in the totality of this game, 62% of possession. Both teams had the same number of shots and same number of big chances. Both teams had 10 shots. Both teams had 3 big chances. The real difference here was just Man City youngster, the 21-year-old Nico O'Reilly, who plays left back for Man City, being the sole decider, scoring a brace in this game in the 60th and 64th minute. And even after they conceded 2 goals, Arsenal didn't really try to get back into this game. It was just like a real big letdown across the entire back line. Truly no single player on the Arsenal team had a good game other than William Saliba. They made the strange decision of starting their cup goalkeeper in this cup final. To be fair, so did Man City. Man City just had a much better performance out of their cup keeper, James Trafford, than Arsenal got out of Kepa Arrizabalaga. It just struck me as a really weird match, because just like it didn't seem that anything that Arsenal was doing was going to work at any point, and it just seemed very passive. Like, it's like, this is a team that should be trying to win a cup final, and instead they're just like, nah, we're just gonna sit here and let one of the best attacking teams to ever exist just have free reign to attack us as much as they want. And they did. And then Nico O'Reilly, the left back, put them to the sword. It was a weird weekend for results. As for this week, I think all of the games for the Champions League are tomorrow. I'm fairly certain there are Champions League games this week. There might not be, though, because it looks like there's a million pieces of international games, like a whole bunch of international friendlies, as well as the World Cup qualification interconfederation semifinal. where Bolivia and Suriname are going to be playing, and then New Caledonia and Jamaica are going to be playing to try and see who the last teams to qualify for the World Cup this year are going to be. And then the World Cup qualification UEFA semifinal to see who the last qualifiers from UEFA are going to be. Big games in that one that people should be looking forward to. Italy are going to be playing Northern Ireland. I would also be much more interested in soccer if there were swords involved, and I'm deeply interested in soccer. But Italy would suffer the pain of being one of the best 20 teams in the world and not making World Cup for the third time in a row if they managed to lose this playoff to Northern Ireland. Other big games, Wales are going to be playing against Bosnia and Herzegovina. The Welsh team really wants to qualify. It's been a long time since we had a Wales representative at a World Cup, and this is a pretty good Wales team. I think that you would be of the opinion, Rat King, though, that almost any sport needs more swords as a sword fighter. Other than that, just a whole bunch of friendlies. When are the next Champions League fixtures? Since I want to talk that, and then I want to talk about one last thing. See, I think that there's to pardon my pun, a double-edged sword factor of more people sword fighting more, Rat King. And that is that, while it would be interesting, and if everyone knew how to sword fight, it's probably perfectly safe. But also, I think if more people were just sword fighting more often, and didn't have the proper training and materials, there would just be a lot more sword-related deaths. Which is probably a net negative for the world. If I were to, I'd agree with that. I certainly would like our wars being fought by swords more than I like our wars being fought with soft pressure from nuclear threat. I just think that the injuries that we suffer are very different from those two sources. Okay, we're just going to look at this over here. Since I've looked through the past, next week, and I'm trying to figure out when these... Oh, that's Champions League qualification. We don't want qualification. We just want Champions League. Okay, Champions League. Oh, the next fixtures are the first week of April. So, one is much easier to run from. That is true. Simply just run away. But so, our next round of fixtures is in April, April 7th and April 8th. Our first round of fixtures is going to see Real Madrid versus FC Bayern Munich. In another one of those that this could have and probably should have been in any other year the final of a Champions League qualification, Champions League competition. But now we get to see them in the quarterfinals. On that same day, we are going to be seeing Sporting Clube de Portugal play host to Arsenal. Just, the next sacrifice in the engine that is Arsenal working their way towards what is becoming more and more likely an inevitability of them finding their way into a final. And then on the 8th, we see Paris Saint-Germain versus Liverpool. Can Paris Saint-Germain continue just whacking their way through English opposition? Or is Liverpool going to be where the buck stops? That's going to be a fun one to watch. And then an all-Spanish quarterfinal on the other side of the bracket with Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid. That one's going to be, if nothing else, wildly entertaining for geopolitical reasons. In that, if there's any two teams other than Barcelona and Real Madrid that just absolutely love beating the crap out of each other, and it just means more than anything to it means a lot to win, but it means even more when you win against them. Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid is another one of those. These are kind of the top three teams in the Spanish league, and not only do they get to play each other now in La Liga multiple times this season, they now get to do back-to-back things in the Champions League. Barcelona and then Atletico Madrid. That's going to be another really fun one. Nice! So I knew you got your new sword yesterday. That was our big thing that we were excited about yesterday. So yeah, so those are your kind of things. The last thing that I wanted to talk about from this is that for those of you that have been around for a while, and for a while I mean you were here back in January when we talked about this when it happened. There has been a lot of drama this year around AFCON. For those of you that aren't aware or that weren't around when we talked about it the first time or are new to the channel, a quick summary of this is that AFCON is known as the Africa Cup of Nations. It happens, I think, every other year, and it is a big tournament where all of the African national teams, usually starting at the end of December and throughout all of January, play in a huge tournament to determine... Yeah, so they have a huge tournament to determine who is the best soccer-playing nation in Africa every 2 years. And different nations get to host it every couple of years. It's very similar to like an Olympics or a World Cup. Every nation in Africa gets to put in a bid of like, this is why we should host the next African Cup of Nations. And then they host it, and then it all goes off. And unlike, a regular full FIFA run event or an Olympic event or things like that, Africa Cup of Nations bring with them the twin storytelling beats of highest level of competition and also wildest place to try and play soccer. We've had some of the craziest stories that have ever existed in the realm of like sports media have come from AFCON's past, present, and future. Because there's no way that it's going to change in the future, and we're just going to get more absolute bangers. There have been games that have been called half an hour short because the ref was so deep into the stages of heat stroke that he hallucinated the entire second half of the game. We've had games that have been called off because of actual, like, blatant cheating that have been, like confirmed, like, refs were being bought out. AFCON is the ultimate spawning bed for just crazy stories. And this year looked like it was going to be the pinnacle of one of them. And when we covered it back in January, we already said this is one of the craziest things that's ever happened. We don't know that there's anything that's ever going to happen like this ever again. And it was great. And it has only gotten better or worse, depending on your outlook on it. As a narrative, it has gotten crazier. But, quick recap. Whole tournament gets played out. The host nation of this entire tournament was Morocco. Morocco were also the favorites to win this tournament. They are widely perceived as one of the best footballing nations in the world currently. They made it to the quarterfinals of the last World Cup. I think they are the first African nation to ever do so. And they have genuinely a very, very good team. And they were the host nation. And host nations generally get a pretty good buff because they don't have to travel as much. They get to play in front of their home fans. It's a whole thing. And they had played a very, very clean, very good tournament all the way up until the final, which they had rightfully earned their way to. And then they got drawn against Senegal. And Senegal is a team that has some history of winning this tournament, almost entirely within the lifespan of their talisman, which is Sané, I think Mane. Mane, who used to be Sadio Mane used to be a talismanic striker. He was one of the two best players at Liverpool. It was him on the left, Salah on the right, and they set the world on fire. And then Sadio Mane left Liverpool at the right time, as opposed to the conversation we had earlier today about Salah leaving at the wrong time. And he went in a huge move to Bayern Munich, where then he was the best striker at Bayern Munich for a couple of seasons. And now he plays in the Saudi Arabian League, just for Al Nassr, banging in goals like he never left, and making billions and billions of dollars. Not billions, but making a ton of money, making more money than anyone should, especially because he's a striker in the same league, and I think on the same team as Cristiano Ronaldo. And he's just, like, doing great. But Sadio Mane in what is widely believed to probably be his last AFCON, because he's also like 36, has gotten together a team of other Senegalese players, most of which no one in the world's ever heard of. A lot of them play professionally in like the first division and second division of France. Some of them play in Senegal still. Their only like real big name is Sadio Mane, and he has dragged this ragtag group of fellow countrymen of his all the way through the group stages, all the way through the knockouts, and they have made it somehow miraculously to the final. And then the final proceeded to be one of the most blatant examples of home cooking that you've ever seen. The refs were calling nothing. There was a literal fight between the backup goalkeeper of Senegal and 4 different ball boys for about 20 minutes of the game, because they were playing this in Morocco in a torrential downpour. And so when it's raining that much, as a person that's played goalkeeper, one of the most important things that you need to be doing as a goalkeeper is keeping your gloves dry and keeping the rain out of your eyes. And the Senegalese goalkeeper is a formerly very, very famous goalkeeper. He used to play for Chelsea. He now isn't as well known because he's a great shot stopper. He's really unreliable in like high pressure moments, and especially the dude can never save a penalty kick. It's like the one thing you know about him. He can never save a penalty kick. But he's still the best goalkeeper for Senegal. He's playing for them in this game. And so he has a towel that he likes to keep next to his goal so that when there's downtime in play, he can run over to the edge of the goal, grab his towel, wipe his gloves off, wipe his face, get all the water out of his eyes, and then get back in the goal and get ready to keep playing. And the ball boys from Morocco, since we're playing in Morocco, and the capital, attempt to steal his towel and run away with it and just leave. And the only thing that prevents them isn't the security that are being literally paid to keep them from doing that, the like enforcers from the arena. It was the backup goalkeeper for Senegal who saw this happening from the Senegalese bench, ran all the way down to the end of the pitch, and started like having to like fist fight these kids to keep them from stealing the towel so that he could keep his other countrymen like safe and aware to play the game. And so like it was a whole slew of things like that. Fist fighting children is wild, but honestly, you watch this happen and you're on the side of the man that's fist fighting the children. The children are what are wrong in this equation. Because they're like, it's like 4 different ball boys all ganging up on him and no one is helping him. And when they do eventually help him, it's security coming to pull him out of the fight and try to let the ball boys still do the thing they're not supposed to do. It's crazy. And so that's going on. They play out the entire game, and in the like 90th minute of the game, the star striker for the Moroccan national team, Brahim Diaz, who plays for Real Madrid, he's currently their only fit striker, so he's now the starting striker for Real Madrid. A ball comes into him from a corner kick. He's standing in the middle of the box, and the Senegalese defender stands next to him and goes, like, puts his arms out to try and jump up to head this ball out. And Brahim Diaz, instead of contesting for the ball, sees his arms go out and just goes down like he's been shot in the chest. Like literally, he does one of these and just falls to the ground. It is the most dramatic, clearly not touched, fake penalty you've ever seen in your life. No ref in their right mind is ever going to call it a penalty. And then you hear the whistle blow and the ref is pointing to the spot. It's a penalty. And so the Senegalese team in this moment, under the advisement of their head coach, who walks out onto the pitch, leave the pitch. With the exception of a couple of key players, including Sadio Mane, and the entire team just leaves. Because they have been, at this point now, playing 90 minutes of game where every single... They, as Senegal, had scored like 3 different goals up until that point that have all been called off that had no reason to be called off. Like, whether it was offsides or a foul, like, they were all bad calls. And then all of these weird ticky-tacky fouls have been calling, and this was just the culmination of just one of the worst officiated games you've ever seen in your life. And so the entire team leaves. And they're gone for, like, 10 minutes, and during that 10 minutes, the Senegalese section of fans gets in an actual, like, full-on fist fight with the security guards at the stadium. It's wild. It's absolutely bananas. And the only thing that brings them back out is after about 10 minutes, Sadio Mane leaves the pitch for about 30 seconds, makes sure that there's always one Senegalese player on the pitch. Like, he calls the other guy that stayed out there with him, was like, hey, you stand right here, do not move. And then he leaves and disappears for about 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds later comes back out the tunnel, and the entire team is behind him. So I don't know what Sadio Mane said, but he went into that locker room and like set some things straight. And because he is who he is, the entire, like, Sadio Mane is one of those guys where at this point, if he wanted to run for president of Senegal, he probably would win in a landslide. But he just goes in there, the entire national team listens to him, they get back out on the pitch, the ref restarts play, and then Brahim Diaz takes the single worst penalty you've ever seen in your life. It gets saved, and Senegal goes on to win the match in extra time, 1-0, and they are champions of Africa. And that was what we thought the end of the story, and one of the all-time greatest stories in AFCON history, because it was just absolutely bizarre. And like in the medal ceremony, Brahim Diaz is openly crying because he lost the game for his country. The King of Morocco was supposed to go there to award the medals to the winner. He instead doesn't show up and sends his brother, the Prince of Morocco, to go do it, who genuinely refuses to touch the trophy. He refuses to engage with the Senegalese players. All of these things go down. And you think that would be the end of the story until this week, news comes out 2 months after AFCON is over. And everyone's gone back and everything's gone back. That AFCON have, under lawsuit from Morocco, overturned the result and now, 2 months removed, awarded AFCON championship status to the nation of Morocco. Like, no replay, no nothing. They have just decided, because the country of Morocco sued them so much, that Morocco get to be champions. And that they are going to be collecting all of the winners' medals and the trophy from the nation of Senegal and from all of the Senegalese players, and they are going to be returning them. Now, obviously, Senegal are petitioning this. They are taking it out of AFCON's hands, and they are appealing this to the higher courts of sports officiation, run through FIFA and run internationally, to the International Court of Sport Officiation, who, in their actual bylaws, do have it written out very clearly in plain English, French, and all of the other languages that it's written in, that this is a completely illegal act and cannot be done. So, like, I don't think there's any actual risk that Senegal loses this win, but currently, in the eyes of AFCON, which is the African Federation of sport, the winner of AFCON is Morocco for a game that they lost, in which they scored 0 goals, and entirely because their country was so mad that they lost, even though they lost in what was blatantly one of the worst officiated and most, like, blatantly home side favored games I have ever seen in my life. They were such sore losers that they complained so high to the courts in the nation, in the African Federation, that they decided to overturn the result, a thing they are not allowed to do, and award it to them 2 months after they lost the game. It's just absolutely incredible. And so there'll be more news coming out from that, because the only thing that we have currently is that when being talking about it and asked about it, the news outlets that have been covering it, that have been able to talk to the Senegalese players, almost to a man, every single Senegalese player has just said, they're never going to get my medal back. There's nothing they can do to pry it from my cold, dead hands. And, like, the Senegalese FA has come out and been like, we are going to be suing, like, we are going to be counter-suing for this. We are going to be appealing this to the International Courts of Sports Mediation. Like, this is definitely a fight that, by the laws as they are written, that FIFA upholds internationally, this is not a thing that Morocco can do. Like, it is very blatantly against every single rule. But it's just one of those things where, like, we haven't had a good moment to talk about soccer for a while, and this came across my timeline as, like, this is the thing that we're doing. And this isn't even the other thing. The other big, like, the thing of the moment right now is everyone's losing their minds about the interactions between Brazilian superstar Jorginho and his stepdaughter and American pop sensation Chappell Rowan. In that whole thing has been blowing up, but it's still just like, news is going to be news, but this is one of those that is just absolutely incredulous of just like, what do you mean just because the host nation complains about the most horribly blatant like thing ever, is that Senegal has been stripped of their AFCON title, and just everyone is mad about it. Every single person in the African Federation is mad about it. It's just like news articles from The Guardian and all the stuff about it, just like Senegalese football fans, the quote here from one of the articles, unjust and ridiculous as they're bewildered by the loss of their AFCON title. It is just one of the craziest things that I have ever seen happen. Like, it truly is not a thing that should be allowed to happen, and I genuinely hope that the justice that Senegal deserves is served to them. To be fair, I can understand why there is some complaint from the Moroccan fans in this, because the first crazy, like, the real thing that should have ended this game is that this game should have just been called off when the entire Senegalese team left the pitch. That's the honest truth. Is like, they should have just ended the game there. It was the end of the game anyways, and then just end it there, and then, like, yeah, it would suck, and we'd still have a lot to be complained about because it was still an egregious game to watch, but, like, they should have just called it there. But they didn't. And they let it play out, and then it played out in such a way where Senegal won. And that should be the end of the story. To have it be this now that Morocco have been like, hey, because you didn't do it, we are going to litigate and litigate and litigate until you eventually get so tired of us complaining about it that you're going to give us the trophy that we didn't earn so that we can say that we won it in our home nation, just is ridiculous to me. It is just like the most petulant, childlike behavior that I've ever seen. And it's coming from a team that, like, going into this tournament, if you had asked probably 9 out of 10 people in the world, if you had to pick a team as a neutral that you wanted to support into the African Cup of Nations, probably all of them would have said Morocco, at least all of them that had watched last World Cup. Because the Moroccan team last World Cup did so incredibly well and were underdogs through the entire thing, made it all the way to the quarterfinals. They looked really good, and it's just one of those where, like, hey, this is a good team with young talent. They know how to play together. They're doing great things. It's their home nation. And honestly, even going into this match, as a neutral, I was rooting for Morocco. I was like, hey, this would be a really cool narrative to, like, host this thing. You're in, like, a renaissance of Moroccan football. This is the best team Morocco's had in a very, very long time. I'm really excited. This is a really good, like, show to force before a World Cup that they've qualified for later this year, where hopefully they can make another really deep run, and we were all rooting for them. And then in the course of 120 minutes, they went from everyone's favorite to one of the most reviled teams in sport, of just like, how in the world could you let this happen? What are you doing? And you'd think in that moment, if you are any self-respecting national team, you just take the L and you start working on brand reimaging and, like, getting yourself ready for the biggest stage that you can play on in your career, which is the World Cup that's going to be coming up in, at this point now, March, where they're having this horrible thing happen, 3 months. And instead, you just dig your grave even deeper. And now everyone in the world has to be looking at Morocco and being like, what in the world are you doing? This was a team that was supposed to be the next great hope of African football. Because, like, African football has had great teams. They've been electric. Everyone has loved the resurgence of the Egyptian national team behind Mohamed Salah. Senegal under Sadio Mane, this is the second time in their history that they ever won AFCON, and both of them were in Sadio Mane's lifetime because he has been that much of a talisman. Nigeria under Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman are a fun team to watch. South Africa even has been able to put together a pretty good team. There's been great teams playing in African football and great moments. Cabo Verde is qualified for this World Cup. Like, how in the world did that happen? The teeny island nation that speaks primarily Portuguese and Creole off the coast of Western Africa has qualified for its first World Cup. That's awesome. There's never been a better time for African football. It's fantastic. And who was leading that charge? None other than Morocco. They were the stalwarts. They were everyone's favorite. They were the true everymans. Like, hey, they've got a young team. They've got great players like Hakimi, like Diaz. They've just got all of these great players that can put together a good performance on their day and challenge the greats. They can challenge the Frances, the Englands of the world. They proved as much 4 years ago, and now they're 4 years older and even more experienced. There's no way that they're not going to be able to put together a good like string of play. And then this happens. And now, every time I think about African football, it's going to be tainted by, yeah, but Morocco's being really weird right now. Like, what's this all about? And that's just really sad. But that was the only last real big story that I wanted to talk about today, because it's been a while since we were able to talk about it, and that is breaking news. This happened in the past week. It's absolutely ridiculous. It is just I don't have any more words for it. You've heard what I have to say about it. I know that I'm not any big mover and shaker in the space, but it is something that when I read about it and I heard about it and I watched other videos on it, it was something that I felt like I needed to speak on. Soccer with Swords is like baseball with robots. I would concede that. Midnight Campaign. That does sound pretty analog. But yeah, that's the update. Oh, the news you missed is there had been a big tournament in Africa at the beginning of the year that had a really dramatic end where the host nation lost the final to Senegal after a whole bunch of crazy things happened. And then now, 2 months after they lost their tournament that they hosted, Morocco has been suing the African Federation of Football to say that they should be champions instead. And about 7 days ago, the African Federation of Football announced that they are stripping Senegal of their title that they won fair and square earlier this year and have awarded it to Morocco instead. And the entire world of football is in outrage, outrage against it. Just uproar. It's one of those things, litigious soccer hooligans would be interesting if it wasn't if it was just the fans that were upset and the people and the actual hooliganism of soccer, then it would be one thing. When it's the crown prince and king of Morocco are suing the African Federation because their team didn't get to win even though it was at home. In a game that was so incredibly cooked for them to win. The refs were calling everything for them. They were given infinite chances. It was one of the most blatantly cheating allegations I would believe, even though they haven't been leveled against Morocco games I've ever seen, and they somehow managed to lose it. It was incredible. It's such a weird set of circumstances that we find ourselves in. But it is a different circumstance than we find ourselves in now, which is that we are clinging desperately to a top 4 place in Serie B, in dire financial straits. We have sold most of our players, including our star goalkeeper, which is the one that we're really most upset about. We got an offer in. We turned down so many offers, and we got one in that our board was just like, we are going to accept this. And sold him out from under us. We do have a couple of good backup goalkeepers now. We have Elaine Tahoe, who was our backup, who has now been promoted to our starting goalkeeper. But we also have Christian Cias and Giovanni Zappa, who we brought in on loan, who are really young, but potentially could be really, really good. Just so that we have more than one goalkeeper at the club. As far as center backs are concerned, Henry Stanich was able to stick around, which is good. He's kind of our best center back. And then we have Jordan Bustin, Simone Cossier, Christian Riggio, and David Del Russo, which are kind of our key ones that we're trying to build around there. Luke Netton has become a revelation in our DM position. We really enjoy having him around. We brought in Rayhan Momade to be another player out at left wing back, because we only really have one left wing back in Gianluca De Chiara, and then our second one being Jose Grelot, who is coming back from injury. So we just wanted to have more rotation there. Yeah. I can understand that. I can understand how that would be an uncomfortable thing in world history. The way that I think about it is it's the same idea as what we have behind trading things, like trading players in professional sports in the US. I do think that buying and selling is better than trades, generally. At least for the players. Mainly just because the players, when you have a sale like we do in this game or in most European competitions and things like that, when you sell a player as an asset from one team to another team, the player gets a cut of every one of those sales, usually in the form of a loyalty bonus or something built into their contract. Whereas when you're trading players in like professional sports here in the US, usually players only get money from their actual contracts, and when you trade their contract, they don't get any additional income. They just are put on a new team now, and they have to readjust to that life. So I think as far as an equity of like towards the player itself themselves as an individual is concerned, this is a much more equitable and better for them. The real one that has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that they have now moved away from, was the fact that college athletes used to never be paid. And so college athletes were expected to perform at the highest levels of athleticism for free. And there was no compensation to that, which I'm like, this is, I think, of all of the things, the most problematic of those things. But that's just my thoughts on the matter. Giuseppe Coppola now is our only good starting striker. He's the best striker at our club. He's also the only striker that we've had that was performing reliably throughout the entire season. If we look at selection info, Giuseppe Coppola has 4 goals so far this season. Our first 10-goal-a-season player is Nicky Stones, who is the best player on our team. Nicolo Pietra, or as I call him, Nicky Stones, who is our star player. He's our channel midfielder. Every time we look at him, he just looks even better. He's in a little bit of a slump currently as far as his recent performances, but we're hoping to have him pick himself out of that slump. But yeah, we just finished the last transfer window. We are moving into the back half of the season. We did as much as we could in the first half of the season to try and get ourselves in a position where we can valiantly try and fight to get promoted. Because the end goal that we need to do is we need to fix all of the really bad finances. Momade, we want to be a left wing back. Chiara is also back from injury, which is good. Lags here getting injured is bad. Don't really have a ton of people that can play out in his position. Okay. Cool. So we are playing Venezia here at the weekend, and then we have Pisa next weekend. Jose Grillo, we signed to a new contract. It's good. The other good thing is we got rid of most of the players that didn't want to be at our club anymore, which was a surprisingly large number. So hopefully our overall vibes at the club go up. We are once again going to be complimenting all of our players to try and make that happen so that they can feel better. Goes here. Casade. Fofana. Giuseppe. We really want to see a big surge forward in progression for Giuseppe Coppola. Now that he's our literal only striker option that isn't like an actual youth academy prospect. The good news is like we do have a lot of good players around him that have been scoring a lot of goals. So like we are still scoring. It's just like we really would like a striker that scores any goals. And currently we have not really had any of those. We had Gian Mario Comi last season, who was a striker that got, I think, 9 goals in a season. But he then retired. So, and we haven't been able to get another striker to fill that thing. Although Nicky Stones, like I said, has been a revelation this year. Just kind of scoring for fun. Sorry, pulling this up over here so that I can look things up if we need to. Because like the honest thing is like we transitioned to this new setup because we were going to have players to be able to play it. Now that we've sold kind of everyone, I want to be able to come up with some other tactical ideas if we have to, if the tactics end up falling apart. Because like these are very important games. We really need to beat Venezia. We really need to beat Pisa. Pisa are only 3 points behind us, and admittedly there are 2 U23 teams that can't get promoted, so there is more promotion spots in this particular league than there would be generally, because first and second are automatic promotion, and we are honestly not that far off from the automatic promotion spots. We're only 4 points behind Reggiana, and we have a game in hand, so if we win our game, we're only 1 point behind them. Although, if Cesna FC win, we would be 3 points behind Cesna. So we would be still in 4th, and we'd have to leapfrog both of these teams. But we knew that we were going to be dropping down once we sold a whole bunch of players. So that is the general concern. At this point, it's just finish as high in the table as we can, because the only way that we really fix the crazy debt we're in is getting promoted to the next league up. Because if we get promoted to Serie A, we just get more money for just being there in TV rights. They expect us to draw next match, but believe a chance exists of sneaking a win. I also believe we have a fate chance of sneaking a win that is going to be pretty good. The main thing we're going to have to do right now is we want to do, for all matches, we're going to reset. See, Mo Money, Mo Problems, I would agree with if we weren't negative $10 million in debt. So we have a lot of problems because we have so little money. We have, in fact, so few money. Yeah. That, like, we are pretty desperately in need of more money because our lack of money is providing so many problems. It is, in fact, why we have had to sell so many players was because our entire budget as a team was chopped almost in half by our board. They just took all of our wage budget, which we were spending like $6.5 million a year in wages, and they chopped us down from that to 4.5, and then we sold enough players to let them raise it back up to 5.3. We're still only spending 4.5 though, in case they cut it again, because they will probably cut it again. Okay, so this is their recommended team of who they think is our best. I think Mosqueta is our best right-sided center back. We're going to replace that with Stanic. So this is who they think that is. Kosier, I think, is still Jordan Bustin. Pino, I think, would be Perotti. Netin, Chiara, Rasmussen, Malahi, Legsier. Ashraf El-Bouchatawi is not our best DM. It is very much the best player on our team who is not even on this list. Nicky Stones. So I think this is our best 11. As it currently stands at the club, these are the best players at our team in their best positions. So what we want to do then is save this, and let's build out our backups here. So Kosier, Riggio, and then left back we want Momade. Right back we want Pino. DM we want Vukoi. Midfielder we want Cassidy. Who else do we have that can play in center mid? The $1 million question. Honestly, Vukioi. But I guess also we want to. Want to remove all of these. Okay, this is much better. There we go. So Kosier, Riggio, Momade, Pino. We might have to just include honestly, Vukioi might have to move up to midfield with Cassidy, and then our DM sub might have to be David Dele Russo. because he can play DM. I believe that. I saw that you were playing Wilds the other day. And it was the first time in my life that I felt like I was an influencer. Is my honest opinion. Was I saw you hit one of the Discords you and I are in together, Midnight Campaign, with like, hey, I'm hopping on Wilds if anyone wants to join. And I was like, I have been an influence on someone in that someone came and watched me play Monster Hunter and is now going and playing Monster Hunter. And it was a weird feeling. Not a bad feeling, and I hope you had a lot of fun, since it looked like you were going to have fun. But it was very much one of those like, I did not anticipate this, and I don't know how to feel about it, but it worked out. That's fun. I'm sure there are plenty of people in the community here that would play Wilds with you and help you finish it. I know because I've talked to most of them. And then bring in Fofana. And Grelo. So this is our current first 11. Nope, that was not what I wanted. I hate that I have to just go do that all again, and I can't just be like, oh, we did the right thing. Stanich. There you go. Yeah, lifestyle games are not out of your way. There you go. You can do that. Sorry that you are so sad and lonely. At the very least, you know where I am every single day, and you can come hang out here. Unfortunately, you're just usually at work while I'm doing stuff like this. So I just entertain you at work. You have to reset the team sheet because there is no save function. Well, there is a save function. I just hit that. It's all good. It's totally fine. I think that you're allowed to be facetious. I mean, call me insane, but I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to be. Momade, we want Pinot. You think I'm insane? I was the one agreeing with you. I just think that it's okay to... I think it's an acceptable thing to feel feelings. And that we shouldn't, you know, get mad at people for feeling the feelings that they're feeling. That's kind of the only way they can process them. Automodded twice. Automod really doesn't like the word insane for some reason. And you are correct. I did ask you to call me insane, so it shouldn't be mad about that one. The thing is that Automod doesn't know that I have just asked you to call me insane. It misses those subtle hints. Fasano has to come because he's the only person on our team that can play right attacking midfielder that's not injured. Migliori, we want to bring Grelo instead. Okay, so we are going to save this as our new first 11. I mean, I appreciate the effort to work around it. It's also one of those of like I have control on the back end of like I can give it like specific phrases that I don't want it to auto mod, or I can give it specific phrases that I do want it to auto mod. And just in my laziness, I have it set up to be. Admittedly, when I first set it up, it was incredibly strict. Now I have it set up to be significantly less strict. But still strict enough that I'm like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to just have people be coming in and saying just absolute wild stuff, because like that's not good for anyone. An unmoderated chat room is worse than a heavily moderated chat room. But I also don't want to be like wildly cracking down on things that I don't think are actually super problematic. Give me Mancino, and then Lagsier for Sal. We already have Jose Grillo. Give me Migliori. Okay, this is the team that we are going to have to play, though, and so we're going to try and figure out if this team can actually beat anyone. Okay, chat, let's get up for it. This is our first game. It's been a while since we played Football Manager. It's a nice, wet and sunny 41 degrees Fahrenheit at the Silvio Piola here, Sunday, February 6th, 2028. Luke Netton wearing the armband for us. Let's turn around these bad results. A win here can see us climb all the way up to third. A loss here sees us start rocketing down the rankings. Okay. So far, good defensive showing. I'm not hating that. Let's see if CS can have a good game. Once again, he's the best goalkeeper we've seen as far as his shot-stopping ability by the metrics. He is also, though, 17 and not good at like playing out from the back. But we're playing him instead of Tahoe because Tahoe is worse at the shot stopping and as bad at the playing out from the back part. So like no real functional improvement there. Okay, Netton, that was a weird way to deal with that. Brought the ball down into your own control and then immediately gave it away. Oh, jeez, lucky for CS there. Ricocheted off of the post and not into the back of the net. There we go. Good play from Netton to find Nicky Stones. Pino crushing it down the right-hand side. Couldn't beat Thorsteinson. Way to go, Jordan Bustin. Okay, Nicky Stones tried to set him up straight there. There we go, Di Chiara. Nice, Jordan Bustin. Malahi, good press, good press. There we go, Jordan Bustin. Like I said, we're defending really well, which is a good first start to this. We've been a little too porous in the back lately. So it's been really good that we are able to be strong at the back again. Like, if those are the shots we're giving up, I'm fine with that. The fact that, like, Jordan Bustin has a 7.0 right now is huge. Out to Di Chiara. Finds Matthias Rasmussen on the break. Cuts it back to Di Chiara. Back to Luke Netton. Pino. Pino with the shot! Ooh! Good save from Stankovic there to put it out. We'll take a corner. That was our first shot of the game. Way to get that ball, Giuseppe. Rasmussen with a good outlet. Ooh, couldn't get it over the head of this defender, but I liked the idea. If that had gone over the defender's head, Giuseppe was in on goal. He was in behind, and there was no catching him. It was a great idea. So, wowie. Stanic, way to win the header. There we go, Gianluca Di Chiara. Find Osino Sao. Back to Netton. Giuseppe. Out to Pino. Pino beats his man. There we go. Pino into the box. Emiliano Pino. That's how you start the game, baby. Emiliano Pino back in the team. Back in the goals. Assist from Giuseppe Coppola. Incredible. There we go. There we go. Pino breaks it in. Outside of his right foot. Beats the goalkeeper. Beautiful goal. Provercelli. Starting as we hope to go on, 1-0 up over Venezia. Let's keep going, chat. Huge, huge, huge. Oh, we got incredibly lucky there on that one. Yeah, Mark Kike Perez. Okay. We will take that. Malahi here with the long throw. Nicky Stones brings it into the box. Beats his man. Nicky Stones! Nicky Stones! Another assist for Giuseppe Coppola off of that one, which is incredible for our young striker. He may not be in the goals today, but he is instrumental in making them. Nicky Stones here, picking it up, beating his man, beating him again. That's too much space for Nicky Stones alone in the box. He's going to punish you every single time. Massive goal for our best player. Whew, there we go. Another good effort there from the young goalkeeper. He was getting towards that one. Much larger result is that, like, our defense is playing really well, so our goalkeeper doesn't have to make any big saves, which is the more important part of this. I, of course, say that, and then Emiliano Pino just absolutely gives that away. Oof. We are getting incredibly lucky. I don't want to underplay enough how incredibly lucky we are getting in how badly they are just hitting posts and they aren't going in. Because, like, we are getting absolutely dominated on these shots. They have 15 shots to 4. We're just incredibly lucky that Nicky Stones and Emiliano Pino are very good at what they do, and Giuseppe Coppola is setting them up and pulling defenders away. Because, like, we have been outshot 11 more shots. Like, we can press Busio. Rasmussen here to put it in from the edge of the box. Netten at the back post. Malahi at the far post. Okay, please be onside. Please be onside. Because that was just a beautiful set piece. Beautiful worked ball in. There we go. Yeah, Luke Netten all alone at the back post, puts it back in, and then Malahi in congestion, in a whole bunch of traffic. Just that ball back across finds exactly him. Buries it. That currently puts us to a man of the match performance for Luke Netten off of that assist. Should start looking at some subs here. Rasmussen is probably a high likelihood of someone we need to take off. Just he's very tired. We'll replace him with Cassidy. Chiara just came back from his injury, so let's place him with their Netten for Dele Russo. Pino tries to play it into Malahi, but cut out by Thorsteinsson. Subs haven't been able to come on yet, so Di Chiara is getting a little bit cooked there. Malahi now with the outlet pass. Oh, he finds Sao with the switch. Into Coppola. Back out to Sao. Okay. Nicky Stones will come off for Vukioi. Malahi for Fasano. This is the other thing, is this is going to force us to play a lot more of our youth candidates. Like, already, David Del Russo 16. Fasano, I think, is 18. Is he good at the positions we want him to play? No, but like he does have actually very good physicals. Sao gets it into the box, plays it into Vukioi. Out for a corner is not a bad spot. Pino, back to Russo. Giuseppe, back up to Pino. Pino put it back in. Oh. Fasano tried to win that one. Couldn't. David Del Russo, though. Up to Momade. We've got like a minute left. If we score a goal, it's for sure over. Giuseppe, so close. We'll take a corner, but Giuseppe... That would have been the perfect way for Giuseppe to end his game. If you had 2 assists and a goal, fantastic. But honestly, great way to pick that up. Great start to the stream. 3-0 victory. Gets us back in the win column after a long time out of it. Sees us jump all the way up to 3rd. It would have jumped us up to 3rd, but Cesna won, so we stay in 4th, but we're only 1 point behind Reggiana and 3 points out of 2nd place, which is automatic promotion. The unfortunate thing is that Pisa also won, so they are now immediately behind us, and so that's our next week's match is now incredibly important. And we're playing at Pisa, which is not a great place for us to play. We want to get our training up. Trying to keep all of our things functioning at highest level. Keep our spirits up around the club. They said unlikely victory, but we did win. Shutout on debut for Christian Cias. Pino is now also suspended for 1 match. Pisa were able to beat Padova. Luke Netton is making progress. There we go. Luke Netton, how are you progressing? As a defensive midfielder, Luke Netton is currently a -1. Is he still a -1? As far as acceleration is concerned, he's a -3. Anticipation, still he's at a -3. Stamina, he goes down to a -4. Jumping reach, he goes up to a 0. Composure stays as a 0. Passing, still a -1. So he's not getting better at DM. Is he getting better at center back? Jumping reach is +2. Pace is -1 to +1. Acceleration gets him down to -1. Work rate gets him up to 0. Anticipation keeps him at 0. So he is getting better. What he's getting better at is being a center back.
Delorusso is one that we want to keep around. Atienza, I don't think we actually want to keep around. I mean, I would love to keep Mohamed Malahi, but if our club is going to struggle financially and he is worth actual money, we will sell him. Chiara is now out for 2 to 3 weeks. This is why we signed a new backup left back. Apparently, Al Hilal is going to try and sign Erling Haaland for $230 million. These money things are just ridiculous. The thing is, like, they're actually very true to life, is the crazy part. But that's what makes them even crazier. Is it's like, yeah, that's the kind of money that someone like Erling Haaland would go for. That is truly so much money. So Pisa have been doing well. Currently in 5th. Apparently, Luke Netton has gotten even better again. Vieri set for Renate. Okay. People are training well. Vibes were great, honestly. Coming off that 3-0 win, we might actually be able to have a good showing here against Pisa. Perotti, Memode, Cassidy, Rasmussen they actually want to play out on the left, which he can technically play. It is a legal thing for me to do. Considerably much higher level than before. Okay, so we are trying to win this game against Pisa. This is a very important match, chat, as we have to This is a 6-point swing. If we win, we get to have a 6-point gap between us and Pisa. If Pisa wins, they catch us on points. And every single one of those points matters. Roti, Bustan, Stanic, Netin, Momade, Nicky Stones. Sao, Tahoe, Kosier, Riggio, Pino. Pino is suspended, so we can't bring Pino. Grillo, we do want to bring. Do we have another right back? Mancino, technically? Fasano is our right-sided. Casade, Vukioi, Delo Russo, Fasano. Ierino as our left. Dodo Fofana. Migliori. This is very much of like this team that we have out here to be our starting 7, our starting 11 is good. And then the second that we have to bring anyone other than like Kosier and Riggio on, it all falls apart. Okay, let's go try and beat Pisa. This is an away game. We don't have the home crowd buff, which is not great, but okay. Let's go do this, chat. Carry our last performance into this one, and hopefully it goes well. Okay. Us versus Pisa. We got the kickoff. Jordan Bustin. Finds Rasmussen. Sao. Momad out on the left. Beats his man. Puts it back in. Malahi. Nicky Stones. We'll take a corner. I'll take a corner. I'll take a corner, chat. Second minute corner. Honestly, the miracle of miracles there was that Mohamed Malahi won that header. Okay. Momad. Okay, Jordan Bustin. Out to Momad. Beats his man. Beats him again. Finds Rasmussen. Back to Momad. Nicky Stones, top of the box. Perotti. Can Perotti also beat his man? Perotti. I'll take another corner. I'll take another corner. 2 corners in the first 8 minutes. Ooh, this one we even get a highlight. It's going to be the short corner. Mamad plays it to Perotti. Perotti just tries to turn it, but I'll take another corner. 3rd corner. Just run it back. Maybe lay it off to Mamad this time so he can put it in. There we go. Mohamed Malahi. Ooh. We are really ramping up the pressure here, chat. Take 4 corners in the first 12 minutes. Okay, Mamade, you'd had such a good game until this point. And now you just are tearing people to the ground. Not what we need to be doing here, Ryan. Okay. Luke Netton, there we go. You know, that's a shot I'll take. That was a shot that was like directly into 5 defenders. Okay, that was not good. That was the one thing we couldn't let them do, is let Stefano Moreo score. He's their leading goal scorer. He's their star striker. He just ran straight at Stanic, and Stanic did nothing. So that's unfortunate. There you go, Perotti. Nicky Stones. Jordan Bustan there, just pushing Moreo into the dirt. Okay, so we need to come back from this now. The thing is, like, the Stefano Moreo goal was completely against the run of play. Like, we have been the dominant force this entire first half up until that moment. That was also closer than I thought it would be. Nicky Stones, great defensive effort. Does anyone else in the chat remember when we were getting training reports coming back from our staff being like, Nicky Stones is a defensive liability and he'll never be good defensively? Look at that. He just made like 3 efforts on that play and he blew up the entire possession. Thank you, ref. Thank you, thank you. There we go. Yellow card is even better. Okay, Rasmussen. Last time he had a free kick, we scored from it. Coppola! Come on, Giuseppe. Come on. We're already at a deficit. We need to come back into this game. I need you to start actually scoring those. Mohamed Malahi, there we go, in behind. Lead the counter, beats his man. Thank you, ref. Thank you, thank you. Rasmussen just couldn't do anything with that one, apparently. Okay, so I really would like to see one more effort towards the goal before halftime, please. That was not a good one. That was bad. I don't know what that one was or why you decided to show that to me other than it's going to be the end of the half. Okay, so I need something a little bit different from the team. This is still infinitely winnable for a game. We just, like, the thing is like, we only had one less shot than Pisa, but only one of our 5 shots was on target. So, like, keep shooting, but just, like, actually hit the net, please? Rasmussen, come on, ref. So, finds Coppola. Coppola! Oh, hey! Hey! We asked for one thing, and that was for Giuseppe to start actually shooting it and putting it onto the net, and that was a shot on target. That's a step in the right direction. I don't like that they played the long ball to Moreo and he actually won it, though. There you go. Good. Good, good, good. We controlled that possession pretty well. Okay, Luke Netton. Beats his man. Sal, put it into the middle. Didn't put it into the middle. Okay, so Nicky Stones, tired, bad game. Malahi, tired, bad game. These are bad things for us to be seeing. Giuseppe Coppola, back to Sal, Netton. Okay, so is Momade actually injured? Because we do have a sub for him if we have to use it. Okay, Nicky Stones to put this in, and then let's make some subs. Mohamed Malahi. Okay, Sal, that was maybe not the tackle we needed, but I do like that it ended that possession. We gotta bring on Jose Grillo. Fortunately, I think we also have to take off Nicky Stones for Cassidy and Giuseppe Coppola for Dauda Fofana. Try and demand more. Like, we should be able to win this game. We should be able to. Perotti, nice. Nice, Perotti. Perotti! Oh! So close, Perotti. Okay, Bustin, Del Russo, Rasmussen. Jeez, honestly, I am a little mad about this loss. Should we be mad about a loss to Pisa, especially at home in Pisa? No. They are a better team than us. But they weren't the better team today. We were, and we just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. And this sees them leapfrog us, and now we're all the way down to the 5th. Like, this was genuinely, I am disappointed. We shouldn't have won that match, and the fact that we didn't, I can't express how mad that makes me. The thing is all it was a single defensive lapse by our literal best defender. And that's all it took. Stefano Moreo is not going to let that happen. And then they didn't have any defensive lapses. Okay. Clement Perotti is doing really good as his right wing back. Fofana needs you to score. And Arezzo, who we play next. Oh, Cremonese. 1, okay. Lagsier's back, so we have our starting left winger back. That's good. Okay, so Del Russo is now under an offer from Basel. Luckily, he doesn't want to go to Basel. He wants to stay with us or go to Fiorentina. So we can reject this. Vitinha is who they're looking for. That's their new Rodri. Cremonese is our next match. Cremonese did just win their last match against Frosinone, so they're on an uptick. But they are still the second worst team in the league, so we really would hope to be able to win this one. We're still, like, Reggiana drew. So we are still only 2 points out of third, which is not far off. Okay, so Antova Modena, Cremonese, Samir Laxier coming back is huge. Yankee Stones is good to get forward. Cremonese are apparently favorites in this match. And I think it's entirely off the fact that they have won their last 2 games in a row. And we lost our last game against Pisa. Are you still on -4 center back, De La Russo? Jumping reach. Jumping reach, he's a +6. Pace, he's down to a +3. Acceleration, he's down to a 0. Work rate, he's up to a +1. Anticipation, +2. Honestly, he's actually like the second best center back at our club. His work rate has gone through the roof. David De La Russo +2 is huge. I think this is the team we want. We just need to sort the bench. Perotti. Pino played better than Perotti did, so we'll do that. Jose Grillo. Cassidy. Bucchio. David De La Russo. Sao left. Fasano right. Fofana striker. Migliori. Okay, we're gonna try this. We need to beat Cremonese. We need to beat Cremonese. They're the 19th team in the league. We're 3 points out of third. Okay. 9th place, we're in 12th. Let's raise our game to their level. Okay. What is our kickoff here? Let's see. This is a rainy, well, a snowy day at Cremonese. It's going to be a tough one. This is a game that we should be winning. Nikki Stones. Couldn't keep it down. Come on, Nikki. Just got to keep it down. He keeps that down. We get that goal. Immediately, all the worries go away. Okay, Malahi. Back to Stones. Pino. Stones. Malahi. Malahi turns. Lagsier, you were there. Just put a finger on it. Put a toe on it. Just poke it towards the goal, honestly. Oh, jeez, Momade. That's 2 for 2 games where we've started Momade, and his first tackle of the game, he has, like, broken someone's spine and gotten a straight yellow card. Rasmussen. Finds Malahi, back to Rasmussen, back to Malahi. Malahi in behind. Couldn't beat the goalkeeper. There to go see us. Way to get on top of that. Out to Stanic. Found it, Giuseppe. Samir lags here. Okay, so getting absolutely picked apart. There we go. I saw that goal coming from about a mile away. Crazy that my defense couldn't. Let's see that, since, like, here's the problem. We've got Stanic, and then all three of Stanic, Busta, and Netin all try to close on this guy, and no one's marking this back post run. And then that's just, no one's ever going to get to that. We really need something better than that. Nice Pino. Malahi. Pino. Malahi. Giuseppe. Malahi. I'll take a corner, but the fact that we're losing this game to 19th in the league Cremonese is really, really bad. Malahi finds Momade. Netin. Pino. Come on. Come on. We just dink it around to the top of the box. Never get a shot in on goal. Lose possession. It's a good thing that went into the back of the net from the wrong side. Okay. Honestly, Cremonese are playing like a team that actually wants to win this game, and we are not. Like, this is the reason we are losing this game is entirely on us. Nicky Stones. Moments of individual brilliance like that do help, but like Serie, Malahi, Momade. Come on, it's like the lazy passes like that, and they are constantly pressing. I mean, they have the same player. They have the same number of players, and probably the same high intensity of counter press that we do. Why does their press actually unsettle us, and why do we just never press them? João Marquez, we're down by 2. We look like such a worse team than they are, when we are such a better team than they are. What was that? What was that entire possession? Truly and honestly. It's time to berate the team. They've been so bad. This is such a bad first half, and I'm genuinely upset by it. Like, I don't want to have to go back to our back 3. Like, the whole reason we switched to this system is we wanted to be have more possession and be less counterattacking, but we are just conceding horrible. Like, what was that? What was that? I'm just gonna go. Because this is going to be another goal, isn't it? Almost. Like, honestly, closer than it should have been. There we go. Knew it. Knew it. 4-0 in the first half. We go down. 4. What in the world? Like, this is the second worst team in the league. Christian Cias on a 5.9. Lagsier, there we go. Please be on sides, Samir Lagsier. There we go. We're getting back into this, but it is still just like, this is a ridiculous. Okay, we'll take a free kick. We'll take a free kick. I'll take a free kick. The annoying thing is, to get any shot in this game, we have to score 4 more goals. Would it be better to out of possession switch them like this? Have Lagsier play the position that he knows how to. Giuseppe Coppola come back. Agreed, we have to win the second half. We were so incredibly bad. Maybe this will work even better if we actually put all of the players in the correct position. There we go, Nicky Stones. Truly astonishing how we can be so bad against such a bad team. And truly, it doesn't get any better. Look at that. Look at what we just saw. Honestly, do we have a... This is the first time we're ever going to do this, chat. We're just going to get an instant result, see how badly we lose this. We lost 7-1, chat! 7-1! Sees us drop all the way down to 6th place. After that. Okay. This is one of those moments where we need to have a real conversation and intervention about what just happened. Because we just lost what was supposed to be one of the easiest games of our schedule. This was against the 29th placed team, the 19th placed team in the league. Cremonese, prior to that game, had won 4 games all season. And they had never scored more than 3 goals in a game. And then we just lost 7-1. 7-1. Now we have to go play the new 19th place, Arezzo, and I think we're going to lose that too. Like, I don't think we can win any games right now. So we got to reevaluate what we've got going on. And figure out how do we turn this around. Because, like, things are going poorly. So, if the issue that we are going to be coming into is the fact that we are not scoring, problem A. Problem B, we are not keeping goals out of the net. So I still don't want to play our 4-3-3 or our 3-5. I still think our 4-3-3 can be good. It's match day. This is what like I'm so flustered. So I don't think we can do this anymore. We just have to play these here. What if we do something like this? Just DM, pressing center mid. Just give us even more defensive, because now if we look at our out of possession, we're just more compact all the way up. And then in possession, can you play playmaker? Stop playing the deep lying forward, try and just actually get goals out of him. Just play center forward. Just even more simple. Even more simple. Just keep it even more simple than we have been keeping it, if that makes sense. Put people in their best positions, keep it really simple, get even more defensive in the out of possession. Put back Tahoe because CS has been even worse. Try something like this. Do we have a wingback that could do this? Is Perotti good enough to play this position? So it's just one of those where I'm trying to think of like what are we doing for the reason of like why I'm so quiet and why I'm looking over to the screen here is I'm trying to read like actual like forum posts of like tactic bloggers of like how tactics work in real life to try and figure out how to achieve what we want to do. Like we want to have this strong 3-man midfield, and I think our midfield is our only shining stars of our team. We've got Nicky Stones, who's very good. We've got Rasmussen, and we've got Nethen. They are good, and our backup midfielders are also fine. Like we have, that's like our only shining star right now is our midfield 3. So I want to do midfield stuff. But it's also like the vertical tiki-taka style I don't think is actually working for us. I definitely want us to still be attacking because we just need to play an attacking mentality. It's just, how can we... What do we want to do? It's like I did a whole bunch of study a while ago about what it is, but there's also been multiple changes to the match engine and the systems in general. So increase tempo, standard width. We want to counterattack. We like low crosses. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Way through the press is our tiki-taka idea. Short goal kicks. Get this to his center backs. I think we'd rather do... This is our playmaker. This is our channel. The real question is like, what do we do here? Because like, keep everything down. Once again, I think we have to keep our high press up. Defensive line. We're getting beaten behind in that. I would love to start a media scandal for the publicity. I can't. Media scandals can be started for publicity on my behalf at random. I've had that happen before, which is wild when it happens. But it is something that can happen. We want our pressing trap to be balanced. We want to prevent short goalkeeper distribution. Yeah, I figured we were talking about the soccer club. That's what I was talking about as well. Is like every now and then we'll have, like, if we're trying to make a deal for a player or something like that, the player will leak it to the press. Or if you'll have the opportunity to have conversations with your players, and if they don't get their way in that conversation, they can also go complain to the press, and then they start a scandal. We're dealing with a lot of those in, like, December of this year, because we had a whole bunch of players that were like, hey, I want to be playing more often. And I'm like, I'd love to be playing you, but you don't perform when I do play you, and you also cost me so much money. Yeah, but like, those are things that can happen. That was also Dennis Rodman. There we go. At least my players did the correct thing of, when we lost to the second worst team in the league 7-1, the players paid for all of their tickets. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna try this new idea. This new idea here. Yeah, so they can. The thing about this game, Midnight Campaign, is that they try to be as realistic of a simulator for the world as a whole, specifically the soccer world, as possible. And as part of that, I wish, but I don't think any seppuku was committed. The real thing that can happen is that, unfortunately, when they make the game, they try to, the whole point of this game is high realism and things like that. And so what it means is they put all of the players in the game, and all the players in the game, they try to make them as true to life as they are in real life, as far as, like, their mentality and, like, their personality and things like that, of, like, are they good with the media, are they not good with the media, are they X, Y, and Z. But because also all of the people that they are playing in the game are real people that can sue them, they generally tend to, like, whitewash it a little bit of, like, oh, even your more zany characters, like Luis Suarez, who plays in MLS for Inter Miami and is known most famously for biting people constantly, and then second most famously for being one of the most prolific strikers in the past 2 decades. He's not going to bite anyone in the game, because if they start making a game where he starts biting people, he would get mad about it, and then they would have to, like, deal with the defamation lawsuit. But to make up for that, after every season, they just retire a whole bunch of players and then institute a thing called new gens, which are newly generated players that aren't real people. And new gens can just have wild characteristics. They can usually have a random distribution of abilities, and then they just give them, like, a kind of throw a dart at a board of, like, what their personality is going to be. So, like, in the first couple of years, in the first couple of seasons, they're not going to let you have any, like, really crazy things happen. But when you get saves, and a lot of people do this in the Football Manager community, where you're playing in, like, 2070 something, or, like, 2050, you'll get players that just do random wild things. Like, they'll get into fights, they'll get into car accidents. Exactly, back to robot baseball. But for the first little bit, it tries to be as realistic as possible. So, like, none of our players are going to do anything incredibly crazy. The only thing that they would do is the things that they have been doing, of just, like, if I don't play them enough, they then get mad and they go to the press and they're like, I hate my manager. He doesn't listen to my concerns. I'm the best player in the world and he won't play me at all. And I'm upset about it and I want to leave. And whenever I have a player do that, I'm like, cool, if you want to leave that bad, I have no reason to keep you here, so farewell. A whole bunch of people are getting injured. Don't love that. Exactly, exactly. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so now we're playing the new second worst team in the league. Hopefully we don't lose to them 7-1. We are playing them at home, so that's going to help a lot. But we're going to try the new 4-3-3 tiki-taka. They expect us to draw, but that we could potentially get a win. And you put Tahoe in. Pino, Stanic, Bustin. Bustin actually will take off for Kosier. Stanic, let's take off for Reggio. We're just trying different things. Chiara's back. Netin. Netin Rasmussen. Nikki Stones. I think I want to swap Nikki Stones and Mathias Rasmussen. Malahi out on the right. Lagsier out on the left. Lagsier's good for the whole time. Chiara is good for 45. And then Giuseppe Coppola up top. Okay, Sius, Bustin, Stanic, Momad. Where is Perotti? There's Perotti. Cassidy. David Del Russo. Vukioi. Is Vukioi injured? Vukioi's injured, so we can't bring Vukioi. We will bring instead Semedo and Sao for left and right side. Fofana as our backup striker. Do we have another Fasano? That's our midfielder. Instead of Caselli. And let's try this. We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. We can't lose as bad as we just lost. That is the one thing I'm gonna take solace in, is that there's no way we lose as bad as we just lost. Right? Right? Okay. Already, I like our pressing shape better. Once again, we aren't marking in the box super well. This Tavernelli guy was completely unmarked the entire time. Nicky Stones. Rasmussen. Finds Pino out on the right. Pino, back post, Lagsier. Chiara. Nicky Stones, Lagsier. Let's go Kosier. We're home at the Silva Piola in the snow. Bad, bad, bad. Okay, Malahi batter. Rasmussen. Tried to play in Coppola. I think Coppola was a combination of offsides and never getting that past his defender. Come on, Nicky Stones. Malahi! Oh, jeez. Crossbar. Crossbar just coming for us there. Okay, Tahoe's looking good there. Tahoe's doing a good defensive outing there. Love to see it. We better not concede from this corner. There we go, Chiara. Way to get rid of that. Nice, Malahi. Oh, come on, ref. Come on. I would have preferred a red card because Malahi was certainly in behind the defense there, and that's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. Tahoe immediately back in the team with a 7.1. Love to see that. No liability in goalkeeper, as opposed to CS, who's been a liability in all of his games since his first one. Malahi, Coppola, Nicky Stones, Malahi. I'll take a corner. I would have preferred maybe that Nicky Stones takes that shot than Mohamed Malahi, but just because Malahi doesn't actually have as good of a strike as most strikers should. Netin, Kosier, Chiara, Lagsier, Nicky Stones in behind on the channel. Rasmussen couldn't get it past the defense. Interesting ratio. Interesting choice there. Nikki Stones. Nikki Stones. Rasmussen, put it in. Let's get a goal here. Yeah, come on, Nikki Stones. Okay, let's get a little bit better in front of goal, and then we're going to take out Gianluca Di Chiara for Momade. Just because Di Chiara is coming back from his injury. Samir Lagzir also on watch, also coming back from an injury. Come on, Rasmussen. Ravasio has to be offsides. There we go. Oh, crazy shot there. There we go, Nikki Stones. Giuseppe. Oh! Giuseppe tries to beat his man and instead takes his entire ankle. There's Riggio. Up to Malahi. Finds Giuseppe. Back to Malahi. Rasmussen. Malahi in behind. Tries to find someone. Rasmussen getting on that second chance ball, though. I'll take a corner. Let's go Kosier. There we go. There we go. Okay, so Lagsier. Come up for Sal. Malahi Semedo. Giuseppe Dodo Fofana. We really want a goal here, chat. We're so close. We've been so close so many times. There we go, Semedo. Rasmussen, Semedo couldn't get it past the keeper. Like I said, we're so close. We're so close. Nikki Stones for Cassidy. Dauda Fofana? Is he on sides? Rasmussen? He was off sides to begin with. I knew it. Don't love this free kick here. No! No! We're gonna lose in the last 5 minutes? Really? Really? What's going on? Puts it back in. Crosses to the far post. Netin's there. Momade's there. Semedo's there. Netin has like super good jumping reach. How did he lose that? I need to win. I need to win this header here. Momade. Riggio wins it. Goes straight to the keeper. Come on! Somehow we are also losing to the second worst team this week. I need a little bit more urgency, Sal. Why would we be wasting time? We're trying to win this game, and you have the lead. We need this to go in. Rasmussen tries to find Netin, can't get it past the goalkeeper. And this is going to be the end of the game right here. Jeez. We started so strong with that 3-0 victory over Venezia, and then it has just been an absolute dumpster fire since then. I am embarrassed by that performance. That was shameful, and they should feel ashamed. That drops us out of promotion, I'm almost certain. Luckily, we are still in 7th. And it goes to 9th because Blue Neri has overtaken us and they can't get promoted. But it is still, like... Those are, like, our only guarantee wins. Like, at home versus the second worst team in the league. That's our guaranteed win. That's, like, we have to win that one. And we got 2 of them in a row and we lost both of them. Like, this is just so unfortunate. I'd like to win one more game today, please. Just one. Do you think we can pull that together, Provercelli? Other than his work rate, this is a really good 20-year-old Polish center back. Okay. It's going to be our probably last game of the stream, chat. If we're lucky, we'll go to the next one, but I do have a hard out at 6 today. Cassidy is the only person that's unhappy. The vibes are immaculate, but we're doing so poorly. Our backup left back is out for 6 weeks. Love it. We're up against Mantova here. Mantova at the Silvio Piola, the beginning of March. They're currently in 4th. They are only 1 point ahead of us in the league. If we win this, we can get back up to tying with Reggiana on points. Hoping for a win, but expecting a loss. Story of our season, and honestly, story of my life right now. I hope for a win, but I'm so expecting us to lose this. Stanish and Bustin. Chiara. It's only good for 45 minutes. Netten, Nikki Stones. Rasmussen. Malahi Lexier Coppola. Casiarigio, Perotti, Grillo, Dele Russo, Cassidy, Sal, Fofana, Johar Semedo, Fasano, Migliori. It's the best team we've got. The thing is, like, we're now playing against a good team, and we haven't been able to beat a bad team in 2 weeks. It's in front of the home fans. Let's just go actually win this. Come on. Malahi finds Pino. Rasmussen! Oh. Honestly, a little bit more on that. Just a little bit more, and that's in the back of the net. Okay, Pino. Malahi. Netin. Gianluca. Rasmussen in behind. Okay. I forgot how to breathe halfway through that sequence, which is, less than ideal, but... Don't like that we have given them a very dangerous free kick. Rasmussen, back post, Netin. Can't beat the goalkeeper. Like, we are still a semi-offensive threat. In that we've had 2 shots and both of them have been on target. Oh, there we go, Tahoe. There we go. He was offsides anyways, which is great, but also Tahoe made a huge save there. Malahi is up front. Lead this counter. We got so many people coming on the left-hand side to help. Cut that back. Come on, Giuseppe, be in the right spot. Malahi. Coppola in behind? Come on, Coppola. A, you're offsides. B, you were in behind one-on-one with the goalkeeper and you kicked it 3 feet right of the net. Are you the best striker? No. But you are my only striker on the team. Like, I only have the one and it's you. So I need you to just, actually get your stuff together. There we go, Tahoe. There's huge. That's massive. Flags here. Put this in. Netin's back post for you. Giuseppe Coppola! Giuseppe Coppola! There we go! I knew you wouldn't let me down. Giuseppe freaking Coppola. Finally back in the goals. Does what he does best from these free kicks. He's not the tallest, so he just lurks outside the top of the box. It comes out. He beats the Mantova player to it, and then just thunders it in. There we go, Giuseppe Coppola. There we go. Nice. Okay, we got that. We can defend a corner. We can defend a corner. We can defend a corner, chat. We can defend a corner. Everyone knows we can defend a corner. We almost did not defend that corner. That was ridiculous how badly we did not defend that corner. Okay, okay. We can take a reset. We can take a reset. Netin, Nicky Stones, back to Netin. Giuseppe Coppola is definitely offsides. Maybe he wasn't. That's a huge goal from Matthias Rasmussen. Giuseppe Coppola is definitely offsides in the build-up to it. We're expecting this to say goal disallowed, and it does say... Yep, there we go. Coppola was so far offsides on this. Like, that was the... Look, the ball's played in, and he's all the way up here. Rasmussen finally was the first one of my strikers or people in the box to ever like beat their defender to a ball, though, so that was nice. Huge from Tahoe there. Rasmussen. Legs here. Coppola in behind. Oh, come on, Coppola. That's a bring it down on your chest, hopefully. I'll take a goal kick. That seems great. This is the end of the first half. Ending the first half up 1. Huge. Honestly, massive. Massive result there, chat. Gianluca has to come out. Honestly, we need to keep Gianluca in because José Grelot is like incredibly tired for some reason. Legs here. Tried to play it into Coppola. Couldn't get it past Pauletti. Radaelli. Stanic. Okay, way to go, Stanic. Way to clear that out. Malahi now with the ball. Finds Nicky Stones. Nicky Stones plays it super long to Laxier. Beautiful ball. Giuseppe, why did you not shoot that? Giuseppe, quick question. When the ball is cut back to you in the box, and you're at the 6-yard box, why do you not just towards the net instead of passing it back out to Gianluca Di Chiara. There we go, Netin. I liked the idea there, look, but there we go, Tahoe. Good clearance from Shotan Bustin. Okay, we'll take a corner. We'll take a corner, chat. Corner, we'll take it. It's fine. Our own corner, we also love. Stanic, an attempt made at the near post. Malahi. That bounced so much in that box. Giuseppe, I like the effort, but Semedo and Lagsier. Let's try those in. These subs. Semedo, honestly, closer than it had any right to be for that shot. Emanuele Rao! They are really pushing people forward. They're playing like Man City tactics out here in Serie B. Grillo and Delo Russo. There we go, there we go. Honestly, at this point, we're just going to hold on to this in case someone gets injured or someone goes to red fitness. As far as instructions, time wasting is going to come up. Tempo is going to come down. There we go. Sal. Nikki Stones. Nikki Stones. Rasmussen. Rasmussen! Oh! Oh! I felt that ricochet off my soul when it hit that post. Delo De Russo. Semedo. So, there we go. He was on sides, ref. He was on sides. I believe he was on sides. I really wish he was on sides. I super hope he was on sides. There we go. So we beat the good teams. We lose to the bad teams. Classic Football Manager. Berotti. Okay, that's about as comprehensive as it gets. We've blown them away. Okay. With that, we ricochet all the way back up to 5th. Only 1 point. We are even on points with 4th, which is the Inter Milan U23s. We are currently even on points with 3rd, which was Reggiana. But Reggiana hasn't played yet. They probably play tomorrow. Versus either Modena or Frosinone. No, we know Frosinone and Palermo are playing, or I think are playing. So I think they're playing Venezia. Okay. Chiara is injured again. Okay. So, I think, chat, even if it's a little early, we're going to call it here. Mainly just because I've had a roller coaster of a day, and I have play tickets here at 7 o'clock, and I want to be able to eat dinner and get ready before then. So we're gonna call it here for today. But as a reminder, thank you all for coming and watching today. It's been a lot of fun. Tomorrow we are going to be able to be doing some more. We're going to be playing some more TFT to try and continue climbing in TFT on the competition patch. We are actually making pretty good progress towards getting out of Platinum 4 and getting into Platinum 3. It would be a lot of fun to see how high we could get there. At this point, I don't know that we're going to qualify for the tournament next month, so we might actually start slowly transitioning out of doing TFT on Wednesdays come April. But we are at least going to be doing it again for tomorrow. And then a reminder, Thursday is going to be a earlier in the day stream because I have a business meeting in the afternoon, Thursday evening. Other than that, expect another Magic the Gathering video on the YouTube to come out hopefully tomorrow. And then Monster Hunter World will be on Friday evening after some more Football Manager in the afternoon. And that'll be the week. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all tomorrow. And as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you next time. Bye.